He was after the program? I slowly approached the projection. So perfect an image. Showing up like this? Now? So blunt and to the point? So not Golden Blood. He should be schmoozing, trying to make a connection between me and him. What did you do to Fluttershy? I asked softly. Fluttershy? It was just a moment of incomprehension and confusion. What was the name of the mare you sent down the shaft? I asked louder. He scowled at me. How dare you? No shock that he knew he'd killed a dead mare to protect one of his secrets. Glory, get Turnip out of here. Now. I tossed my sword onto the bed. The hologram was already starting to distort. Golden seemed to be coming apart in little spirals. I don't know who this is, but it's not Golden Blood. Suddenly, the beams flooded on my leg, and I felt a tangible force lifting the limb into the air. Golden Blood's voice dissolved into a mechanical, inequine scream. Give it to me! The last word rose higher and higher as I was lifted. I had no idea where the magic shield grasped my leg had come from. Perhaps it was built into the office? Regardless, it hauled me up by my pip-buck. Give it, give it, give it, give it, give it, give it! It rattled madly. 2 other shields around my rear hooves were pulling the opposite direction. I looked at my shotgun, but a beam sliced it in 2. Then my focus went all to hell as I felt my torso starting to stretch. This thing could have just burned through my leg. Instead, it was simply going to tear it off. I grit my teeth, not giving it the pleasure of screaming as I felt my leg bones start to stretch. I wondered what would be the first to give. My bones, muscles, skin? Glory, get out of here! I screamed. I kept screaming, torn to pieces, slowly, exactly what I deserved for Scoodle, for the clinic, for Clover. This really wasn't that bad. It was poetic. Glory had cut him free. Now they could run as the voice screamed higher and higher. Except that Glory wasn't running for the elevator with Turnip. She was running towards the desk, running towards the small object that P21 had dropped. A metal apple with a blue band. No, 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 no! It screeched and filled the room with a wild barrage of red. The floor began to sag beneath me from the myriad of blasts. I could do nothing but scream, nothing but watch as that force grew more and more. I felt something in my shoulder give. Tears ran down my face as my certainty that at any moment she would transform into so much dust. But Glory was a Pegasus. She might not have been a soldier, but in that moment she was faster and more graceful than I could ever have imagined. Even as the floor started to give, she moved without a single misstep. I don't think I'd ever seen her more beautiful. Leaping the last yard, she slid into the grenade and bit the stem. She pulled the stem free and threw the orb in the center of the room. Beams moved to cut me to pieces, burn her to ash, and blast the grenade to scrap. The blue bland flashed. An electronic voice screeched and blurred into one long crackle before cutting off completely. The gemstones gave one last flash, then shattered in rapid succession. I dropped in a heap, my limbs screaming in pain as I stay there on the slumped floor. Slowly, I sat up. My right foreleg dangled at my side. I wondered if it was even going to work anymore. I looked at her, with the stem still in her mouth, and gave a weak grin as I wept at the same time. Then there was a resounding crackle and rumble, and my world began to fall away. I just looked helplessly as Glory leapt back to me. I thought that I'd seen her move fast before. Now, time seemed to stretch out as I felt the collapsing floor shift and give way beneath me. Her wing beat as if trying to fly the distance. I was measuring time in heartbeats, and there was an eternity between each. She reached me, scooped me into her hooves, lifting me, moving me to the side, to safety. Almost. My pip-buck lodged in a fork of twisted metal as the floor fell away completely. My right leg wrapped around Glory and held her tight as we dangled over the wreckage of a dozen feet below. Sweet Celestia, that hurt. It educated me on all kinds of horrific experiences of pain. I wasn't even sure if pain was what I was feeling anymore, but it didn't matter. Glory was alive. I was alive. I looked into the most beautiful eyes in all of Equestria. I'd been mistaken. This was the most beautiful I'd ever seen her. Then the floor below us gave a colossal shudder and broke free, with a roar that made my ears throb. The entire building shook, and I felt the pip-buck starting to twist out of the metal fork. The next floor gave, then the next, and now the entire gutted shell of Flash Industries was full of collapsing concrete and steel, noise and choking dust. My eyes burned, but I couldn't look away. She was starting to slip from my grasp. I could barely breathe, could hardly see, as the collapsed floor finally reached whatever depths there were in the tower, probably crushing the mainframe to dust. Bit by bit, I felt my legs stretch. The brace began to give way. "Hold on!" I yelled, unable to do more than hang there. I felt my pip-buck slowly working free. I felt Glory slipping away. I looked into her eyes, so calm, so beautiful. I saw her wing, saw the stub beside it. The final price for my failure in the tunnels. I couldn't speak. I could only pray as she read my mind and thought with every fiber of my being, "Don't let go. Please, dear Celestia, save me." She smiled. The tension on my left leg suddenly released. She dropped. And suddenly, just beneath me, in a white glow, I clenched my eyes shut and focused every bit of my will through my stupid, tiny, useless horn. I'd never been a strong telekinetic. All I could do was shoot things with it. But by Luna, I would happily lose my magic forever if I could just lift her up to the ledge. Take my magic, Luna, but let me save her. Please. My horn throbbed in time with my worthless, rotten heart. Do this. If I was ever going to do anything, do this. I dared to look. Slowly she rose. A foot, 2. I reached out my foreleg to her as she stretched out hers to touch my hoof ever so gently. There was no fear in her eyes, simply wonder, simply love. And then there was a terrible stillness in my horn, and the glow vanished. I was trapped in that horrible moment, staring into her eyes, feeling her hoof upon mine, and then Glory fell. Her screamed name seemed to echo on for eternity. Glory, glory, glory. Footnote: 75% to level.